Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Bricks and Bleachers podcast. All things Chicago Cubs in under 10 minutes. It is Tuesday night, and the Cubs just won in Cincinnati. But it has been a tough month of August. We'll talk about the just-announced Cubs Hall of Fame, and the Cubs are heading to Iowa for the Field of Dreams in 2022. Right now, Chicago Cubs, with a win tonight, are 53-69, more than 20 games back of the Milwaukee Brewers in the National League Central. Cubs had a 12-game losing streak coming into this one tonight, Tuesday night in Cincinnati. Kyle Hendricks going 6 innings for the Cubs. The bullpen holds on for a Cubs 2-1 win over the Reds, this being the second game of a 3-game set in Cincinnati. Monday night belonged to the Reds. Cubs fell behind early, then they gave up 8 runs in the 7th. They scored 5 of their own in the 8th. Still ended up being a 14-5 loss. Joey Votto claimed his 2,000th career hit in that contest for the Reds. Somewhat fitting that milestone comes against the Cubs. Joey Votto has played very well against the Cubs the last couple of years. Cubs on a 12-game losing streak through Monday. Amazingly, the Baltimore Orioles on a similar streak, yet they were unable to snap their streak. Their losing streak is now up to 13 for the O's. But the Cubs snap it at 12, their second long losing streak of this season. They had an 11-game losing streak late June into early July. In fact, that followed the no-hitter in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. Last time the Cubs endured multiple double-digit losing streaks within the same season was 1954. Ernie Banks was in his rookie season. The 12-game streak goes down as the 5th longest losing streak in franchise history. Also worth noting, since that no-hitter on June 24, the Cubs are just 11-36. That is painful. Following all the moves at the trade deadline at the end of July, the new-look Cubs have fielded more players this season than in any other in franchise history. 60 players have been used by the Chicago Cubs in 2021. 40 games remain. Michael Hermosillo, the latest to make his debut with the Cubs. That came Tuesday night as a late-game replacement for Rafael Ortega. He lined out to the outfield. Hermosillo with a pretty epic campaign at AAA Iowa. 10 home runs in just 42 games, a .310 batting average, OPS over 1,000. Rafael Ortega has been a bright spot at one point, having an 18-game on-base streak himself. He's a great matchup against right-handed pitchers. He bats under 100 against lefties. Hermosillo has historically hit lefties very well, so expect those two guys to platoon in center field. Also really fun to watch Frank Schwindel the last couple of weeks. Tuesday night, his 16th game for the Cubs, and in his first 15, he's racked up an OPS of 1133. That's the 7th highest in Cubs history for players in their first 15 games with a minimum of 50 at-bats. That's slightly higher than Nick Castellanos in 2019. You know, he was red hot for the Cubs after they acquired him late in the year. But no indication of future success. Donnie Murphy with a 1208 OPS in his first 15 games back in 2013. I'm not real sure what happened to him after those first 15 games, and I don't think you do either. He quickly vanished after that. Now Frank Schwindel at first base, making it pretty exciting. And a safe bet over the next 40 games will probably see some other relatively unknown player get hot. It will be interesting to see the front office as they determine who has potential of becoming everyday players for the Cubs in 2022 and what positions they will try to address in the offseason. Now, speaking of, David Ross weighed in on this a couple days ago. He's looking for another big arm in the rotation, whether it's Cubs history or other successful teams in recent years throughout Major League Baseball. All of them have more than one dominant arm. And right now, the Cubs just have Kyle Hendricks. I think Adbert Alzolay will take one of those starting rotation spots, probably as a third or fourth starter, and hopefully Justin Steele. He's only made 2 starts so far, but you'd hope he can fill in at the back of the rotation. Quick update on Cubs injuries. Jason Hayward back after a minimum stint on the 10-day IL. Adbert Alzolay left his start on Friday with a leg issue. It's a left hamstring strain. Cubs don't want to rush him. Inning count already a concern prior to Friday, so we'll probably see him return late August, early September. And Nico Horner is getting closer to a return. Love to see him out at second base again. He's been out since late July with an oblique strain. Dylan Maples expected to return to the bullpen soon, nursing a blister since late July. And Wilson Contreras expected back in September. He tweaked his right knee during pregame drills a few days ago. At that time, he had logged the most innings caught in the majors. So he could definitely use the rest. This and that, news and notes from around Major League Baseball. Tyler Gilbert of the Diamondbacks, baseball's 8th no-hitter of the year on Saturday night. It was his first Major League start. How about that? White Sox beat the Yankees Thursday night to the Field of Dreams game in Iowa. Cubs and Reds will be featured in that contest next year. And it's got a date, too, August 11, 2022. So many moves across Major League Baseball in late July ahead of the trade deadline, and the winners seem to be clear. From July 26th through Monday night, the Yankees have won 15 out of 20 games. The Giants have that same record. Milwaukee continues its tear in the National League Central, winning 14 out of 19. And the Atlanta Braves, winners of 15 out of 21. At the moment, 3 are division leaders, while the Yankees are in line for a wild card spot. And Jake Arrieta, cut last week by the Chicago Cubs after another tough outing. Jake has signed with San Diego and is scheduled to start for the Padres in Colorado on Wednesday. Hopefully, a change of scenery will do the trick for him. Now back to the Cubs. A couple more quick stories to squeeze in, then we'll set up what's ahead. Cubs are opening up a team Hall of Fame at Wrigley Field. We should learn more about this on Thursday. In fact, the team has a Wrigley Field documentary that they have produced. They'll be releasing it on Thursday, showing it to a group of season ticket holders. They're going to show this on the video board at Wrigley. That is really cool Thursday evening. I believe they're going to release it to the rest of us on the Cubs YouTube channel Thursday evening. But at that private event on Thursday evening, 2 plaques will be unveiled beneath the Wrigley Field marquee, one commemorating Wrigley Field as a National Historic Landmark, the other to mark the Ricketts family's commitment to preserving Wrigley Field. An inaugural Cubs Hall of Fame class will be announced Thursday evening at this event as well. Think about this. Who would you put in the inaugural class? All the great Cubs players over the years. Who goes into the Team Hall of Fame here in this first round as the inaugural class? I'll say Ryne Sandberg to start. Unsure how many they're picking in this first class or subsequent classes. Like I said, no shortage of candidates. Feel free to tweet me your ideas, Bricks Bleachers. Tuesday night's starting lineup saw Austin Romine catching and batting 7th. He was followed by his brother Andrew Romine, batting 8th in the lineup, playing at shortstop. Cubs historian notes it's the first time brothers have started the same game for the Cubs since 1894. I mentioned Frank Schwindel being red hot for the Cubs right now. He went 2 for 4 Tuesday night against the Reds. He's now batting .382 through 16 games with the team, including 6 straight games with an extra base hit. First Cubs player to do that since Aramis Ramirez in 2011. All right, up next, it's the Cubs and Reds wrapping up a 3-game set in Cincinnati. 12:35 Eastern on Wednesday on Marquee Sports Network. You'll see it on MLB Network as well. Adrian Sampson and Tyler Mahle, the pitching matchup. Mahle 10-3 on the year for the Reds. He's faced the Cubs 4 times already this year. Cubs hammered him well the first time. Mahle got the better of the Cubs the following 3 contests. Adrian Sampson on the mound for the Cubs. His first start for Chicago. He's got an ERA just under 5 for Iowa this year. That's in 16 games. David Ross, a big fan of him, says he can throw more than 100 pitches if needed. So we can hope that Sampson can give the bullpen a break, as they've got a lot of work in recently during that 12-game losing streak. Much needed day off for the Cubs on Thursday, then 3 this weekend at Wrigley with Kansas City, and then the Rockies come to town Monday through Wednesday. Both teams, Kansas City and Colorado, both of those teams with a similar record to the Cubs. And then another off day next Thursday for the Cubs. And that's it. We're out of time. You are up to date. Don't miss us next time. Subscribe to the Bricks and Bleachers podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get yours. All things Chicago Cubs in under 10 minutes. It is the Bricks and Bleachers podcast.